show of force, even flying helicopters that the administration described as inoperable. With us tonight, retired Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, spent 36 years in the Army, one of the original members of Delta Force, also served as the former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. Dave Sears, 20 years in the SEALs, special operations missions in more than 40 countries, including a lot of time in Afghanistan. Gentlemen, appreciate you both being with us. General Boykin is somebody who once had to deal with the Iranians at one point in your career. Them getting the Humvees, it's embarrassing. Is it a threat to U.S. national security?
Well, look, I don't think it's a strategic threat, but needless to say, this is anything that strengthens the military forces of Iran is a threat. It's a threat to the region. It's a threat to the nations in the Persian Gulf there. It's a threat to Israel. So, but I think we should have expected this. There's no big surprise. This is a cash maneuver for the Taliban. And if they can make some money out of this, they're going to. This is the Middle East, and bizarre things happen, even though there's a Sunni-Shia split here.
Dave, there was a saying going around the Middle East about how you can rent Afghans, you can't buy them. And it seems as though the Taliban is now up for sale in so many ways here. What does all this weaponry now in the hands of Iran mean in your mind?
Yeah, it's exactly as the general said. You know, they're going to sell it to make some money. I don't think it's something that can be glossed over. There's a lot of, we do engineering and things like that really well. So the Iranians aren't as good at it. They're going to get a leap in some certain aspects of, you know, hydraulics, electronics, how things are wired, armor placement, things like that. It's not a strategic threat, but it's not a good thing either. It should just be glossed over.
And it's just kind of, it's also kind of embarrassing at some point, sort of like when the Iranians had F-14s back during the 1980s and 90s. General, we looked at this video yesterday, but had some time to digest it. So this is the Taliban flying an American Black Hawk helicopter over a convoy of some of their captured weapons. And it begs the question, how did they learn how to fly a Black Hawk helicopter? Or was our vetting of the Afghan military so bad that we taught some Taliban members along the way how to fly?
Yeah, well, I mean, anything is possible. Look, we don't know who's flying that helicopter, and we don't know what they paid or who they paid to do that. Obviously, the State Department and the DOD says that they left all the helicopters inoperable. Well, guys, it appears that you missed one. And so I don't know exactly what is going on here, but it could be somebody that they've just brought in to do just what they're doing right now. They're masters at propaganda.
Dave, when you were there with the Afghan military and fighting the Taliban, were they as good at propaganda and at social media then as they are now, or do you think they're getting some outside help?
No, they're definitely getting some outside help, and they've learned. You know, Pakistan has helped them for a long time with a lot of this. So they've also learned from ISIS. ISIS was a really good propaganda machine. They've learned from Al-Qaeda. They learned from the Haqqani network. So Sears and Lt, very connected to Al-Qaeda, and his efforts, he knows a lot of this propaganda stuff, and he's number 2 or number 3 there in the organization right now.
Yeah, well, they're certainly doing a good job. You can imagine also the message this sends as they're rolling around in U.S. weapons. General, you did so much about hearts and minds. You can imagine that rolling around in U.S. weapons systems and up-armored MRAPs and the like does wonders for the Taliban's prestige inside Afghanistan, even among the Afghans who don't really like them.
Yeah, and go beyond that, though. Think of what this message is to the Islamic world, particularly to that part of the Islamic world that believes in jihad and the terrorist groups all over the world today. What is the message here? Islam won. The great Satan was defeated. America has been brought down by a 7th century army. And trust me, I think that's even more important than what the Afghan people are seeing here, because there's still a resistance element within Afghanistan that are, in fact, engaged in combat today with the Taliban.
General, answers like that is the reasons we have you on, thinking about those images being broadcast in the madrasas through Pakistan and through Indonesia and Malaysia is sobering for sure. The flip side of that is hearing stories like this. You might remember 2008, Then Senator Joe Biden was on a fact-finding mission to Afghanistan. His helicopter had mechanical problems, touched down. The interpreter who was with him at the time was left behind by the U.S. military. He had a visa to get out, but he did not get out. Here's an interview with him from Fox News earlier. Take a listen.
President, do not forget me and my family. At the moment in Afghanistan, it is very hard and horrifying situation.
Dave, here's the question. Wanting to save these people, which I know you and all your former SEALs would love to save the guys who are with you, is it a matter of military capabilities or political will?
It's absolutely a matter of political will. So these guys could make their way to there's plenty of capability there to go get a lot of these people out. And there should have been established different, we call them rat lines or mechanisms to get people out via land. Pakistan's closed at a lot of the borders, but you still have, I won't call it a safe haven, but there is some resistance up in the Panjshir Valley, which is not far from Kabul. There's ways to go get these people out. There's no political will to do it.
General, as we look at a map right there, you see Afghanistan that's landlocked. Turkmenistan up there, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. Any other assets have to come up through from the UAE or Oman. You used to plan these kinds of rescue missions. Is it that easy to go? Is it that easy to go get 5 or 10 guys, not to go get 5 or 10,000, right?
Yeah, but you look at that map, and I'm glad you showed that map. And I know Dave will tell you the same thing. You try to launch an operation from any of those countries, and they're going to tell you no. They're especially now. They don't want anything to do with us. But if you try to offset this over-the-horizon capability too much further out, what you're doing is you're pushing men and machines to their limit. And I will tell you, having been part of the attempted rescue in Iran in 1980, we pushed men and machines to their very limit, and it failed. And I think that this idea of a over-the-horizon capability is something that the DOD's got to do a lot better planning that than they did planning this evacuation.
Yeah, we talked about Desert One a couple of weeks ago. General, always appreciate your perspective. Dave, nothing like having somebody who's been on the ground before. Thank you both.